Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be doing a book review on Riders by Veronica Rossi. Riders is the first book in the Riders series, and it follows a boy named Gideon who wakes up after an accident happens while he's training. He's training to be in the military, in the Army Rangers, and he finds out that he is changed. He's actually the Rider of the Apocalypse War, and he has to find conquest, famine, and death, and they have to save the world. At the beginning of the book, he is actually being interrogated and he's tied up and he's bleeding, and he has to try to convince these government officials that he is not a crazy person, and then he's actually trying to save the world and save everyone in it. As usual with my book reviews, I'm going to go through my pros, go through my cons, give you my rating, and be done. My first pro for this book is that the main character is not like a 15-year-old. He's actually 18 or 19 years old, and he actually does have some amount of combat training. A lot of YA novels have a main character who has no experience with anything like that, and then they end up kicking butt and saving the day. He actually uses verbiage that people training in the army and everything use, because I asked people that were in the army if they use these words because I wasn't sure, and they confirmed that they do use those words. I also just like the concept of the Riders of the Apocalypse. I think that they're really interesting, and I think that they can be used in really interesting ways to tell stories and get messages across, and I think that this story does a really good job with the different riders and the lessons that each rider represents. I thought that them having to learn how to control their powers or use their powers was really interesting. They didn't just automatically have them. They had to work hard to progress in their abilities and make sure that they were consistent and their magic and their abilities wouldn't fail them when they needed them. It wasn't like they had a 30-minute montage of training and then they were good to go. They had to continuously work on it. Another pro for this book was that the pacing for me was very consistent. It was very consistently fast-paced. I made my way through this novel extremely quickly. I was reading other things at the same time, and every time I picked this up I felt like I made a significant chunk of progress, and I always really wanted to know what was going to happen next. The timeline of Gideon trying to find the other riders and unite with them and train and figure out how to save the world, as well as the timeline of him being bound up and talking to the people that are interviewing him, both of them were pretty fast-paced, and I liked that. Something I enjoyed was the personalities of all the riders and how different that they were. They all have completely different personalities, and their interactions really made me chuckle at points during the novel. It was very dynamic, and I could believe that the characters actually would talk to each other like they were. I really appreciated the way that this novel ended as well. Everything isn't always rainbows and butterflies, especially when it comes to war, especially when the main character is war and it comes to war. And my last pro is that for me, this novel was really just like a popcorn read. It was just a really fun adventure romp, and I wasn't expecting too much out of it in the first place, so it really fit the bill for what I was wanting. But if you're looking for something that's heavy or inspirational or anything like that, it's not going to be this one. Now I'm going to talk about some of my cons. My first con is going to be that the romance in this book is so awful. So awful that I would laugh. It was just so weird and so rushed. I won't say insta-love, but it was like, let's wait 2 days and now we're in love. The parts where they're talking about liking each other is incredibly cringy, and I just did not like that very much. Another con for me was that there were those two storylines, and so the storyline of them having to meet up and find each other, there's bad guys in that part, but there's no suspense because you already know that the main character makes it to the point where he's being interviewed. So I just wish that there was more tension or more suspense in those parts, because I really had no worry about the main character. So whenever they were in danger, I was like, well, he gets out of it. I know he does because he's here in the future. Another con for me is that I just think that this book missed an incredible opportunity to include a lot of different cultures. It says somewhere in the book that the writers are from all different parts of the globe, but they're really only from 2 parts, and both of them are English speaking. So I think that something that could have been done was that the writers be from everywhere. Maybe one of them would be from Asia, or one of them would be from Africa, or something like that, but it just didn't happen. And my last con for this book, which ended up being pretty significant, is that the villains of this book are so incompetent. They are the type of villain that gets close just enough to annoy the main character but doesn't really do anything. I wish that they were actually a threat. It would have added more suspense, again, to the novel, and I think that it really was lacking that. So overall, I enjoyed my experience while reading it. As I said, it was a very popcorn read for me, just very entertaining, but I also had some issues with it. So in the end, I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars, and if you're looking for more apocalypse reads, this one is a really fun one. The second book came out this year, so I am going to pick that one up at some point and see if I like it as well. So that's going to be my review on Riders by Veronica Rossi. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below if you've read this book. How did you feel about it? Have you read a lot of books with the Riders of the Apocalypse in them? Because I would like to read some more. So if you have any recommendations, leave those down below, and I will talk to you guys next time.